So you want to earn a privacy or AI certificate. Whether you're interested in learning something new or trying to advance your career, you're in the right place. Dr. David provides comprehensive, on-demand training for seekers of IAPP certifications. Whether you're brand new to privacy or looking to take your expertise to the next level, Dr. David's courses have something for you. AI governance professional? Check. CIPP US? Check. CIPM? I've got that covered too. My courses save you time, money, and are delivered in an on-demand format. Watch or listen at home, at work, at the gym, or even on the go via the Udemy app. No prerequisites are required. My courses come with more than 15 hours of on-demand video lectures, free downloadable study guides, and access to our student community on Discord, providing support if you ever get stuck. Thousands of students around the world have taken my courses and successfully passed their certification exams. And now it's your turn to earn the certificate you need to take your career to the next level. Start preparing for your certification exam today with me, Dr. David. All right, let's get started. So again, thank you everyone for taking time out of your very busy afternoon to join us here. My name is Dr. Kyle David, and this is the first of a series of monthly webinars that I intend to do on topics of interest to the privacy and AI governance community. One of the top questions that I get from folks that I work with is, how do I break into AI governance? And I get the question so often that I decided to make that the topic of the very first webinar. I'm also very happy to announce that on December 11th, we'll be doing the second webinar, and it will be on the topic of breaking into privacy. So that's the second most question that I often get. So those are going to be the first two. And I'm actively looking toward January and February. If there's another topic that you feel like needs more attention, you want to hear about, hear from experts throughout the community, talk about this, please let me know. You can send me an email directly, drdavid@drdavidprivacy.com. You can put the topic in chat or reach out to me on LinkedIn. I really want to create value for all of you. So I want this to be community driven. And with that, we'll get started. We are still waiting on our third panelist. So while we're waiting on her, I'll go ahead and introduce the two that are currently here. And we're going to start with Soribel Feliz. She is the founder of Personal Algorithms, an AI governance consultancy. Until last month, Soribel was an AI governance lead at the Department of Homeland Security and former senior tech advisor at the US Senate. With over 12 years of experience spanning federal government, Congress, and technology companies, including Microsoft and Meta, she specializes in translating complex AI regulations into practical compliance frameworks. A former diplomat, Soribel helps organizations navigate the intersection of technology policy and regulatory risk management. Welcome, Soribel. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We are also joined by Yana Aitekina. With a background in finance and data privacy, Yana has built her career around responsible innovation. Today, she manages Responsible AI Governance Program for a multinational organization, helping design and deploy responsible AI systems that are ethical, transparent, and trustworthy. She's passionate about bridging technology, policy, and human values. Thank you very much, Yana, for joining us as well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Wonderful. So as we know, the topic is breaking into AI governance. When I was looking at the lineup here, I wanted to make sure that we were choosing folks that were coming from different backgrounds, that we didn't have three panelists that all had computer science backgrounds or three panelists that all had JDs. And I think we've done a pretty good job at that. And so perhaps we can start with each of you, and Soribel, we'll start with you. Just tell us a little bit about your pathway to AI governance. How did you get here? And we'll start with that. So Soribel, with you.
Thank you so much for having me. So happy to be here today, sharing my experience, my path. I hope it helps someone. So I'm going to start chronologically. I started my career as a diplomat. I was a foreign service officer for almost a decade, worked overseas, Bucharest, Romania, Sao Paulo, Brazil, and then in Washington, D.C. In my last post in Washington, I was working quite a bit with, during the Trump administration, we were doing a big push to invest more in emerging tech and, play the geopolitical games, right? I was seeing all this reporting on things like AI, quantum, biotech. I was especially fascinated by AI. And after seeing that, I decided that I wanted to work in tech policy. I applied to this one job at Meta, Facebook at the time, and I landed there. I was with the team that built the content moderation algorithm. This was 2021, before ChatGPT came out. AI was just a technology. It was AI and machine learning and algorithms, nothing sexy about that. Um, so I was working with that team, learned quite a bit about how the algorithm works, and then found myself building up a compliance framework for content regulations that were coming from around the world. That was fascinating. That was work that I really loved doing. After Meta, I went to Microsoft, working on similar stuff, and then landed in Congress working as an AI policy advisor for Senator Bill Cassidy. That was the best year to do that because there was so much movement going on. Learned quite a bit about AI policy, and then decided to kind of switch away from policy, more into governance, kind of actually implementing AI. How do you actually implement AI responsibly, rights, in a rights respect, privacy respected manner. And then just to wrap it up, decided to go out on my own and start working beginning with small and medium-sized businesses, startups, helping them implement AI governance programs, change management, helping their employees adopt AI. So how did I land here? I think the first thing is kind of anticipating those big shifts that are happening. So I kind of had foresight into what key emerging technologies were going to blow up, and trying to, position myself in that area, in that arena. Also, I think reading a lot. I read a lot, and I do a lot of reading and networking and trying to understand, like, what are the new technologies, what are the new pain points of that technology, where is industry heading, what are the trends that I'm seeing, and kind of connecting the dots, and a lot of networking. I'll stop there.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Soribel. Just real quick, I want to introduce our third panelist, Sabrina Caplis. We had a little technical snafu, but we were able to take care of it. So Sabrina, thank you for joining us. And just want to introduce her to the group real quick. So Sabrina Caplis is an AI governance, risk, and security consultant with RockCyber, where she helps organizations strengthen AI risk management, ensure compliance readiness, and build responsible, secure AI programs. She has assisted Fortune 100 and 1000 companies in developing governance frameworks, policies, and enterprise-wide initiatives aligned with emerging global standards. Active in the cybersecurity community, she serves on the boards of ISSA and ISACA Denver, contributing to the OWASP Gen AI Security Project, and is a curator within the World Economic Forum's Global Shapers community. Thank you very much for joining us, Sabrina. And since I called you out, we'll go ahead and go with you next. If you could just tell us a little bit about your pathway to the AI governance career.
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you, Kyle. Similar to Soribel, my background is a little bit, colorful and interesting, and perhaps not as traditional as many of those with a more technical background. So I initially started my career in social services, helping individuals with disabilities, the unhoused, and the justice involved achieve independent living, job placement, and access to resources. I worked in that realm for a few years, and the experience showed me firsthand how technology can impact communities for better and for worse. And from the knowledge I gained in that, I wanted to continue into a field where I could continue to have a positive impact on various communities, even outside of social services. And it was around that time that I discovered AI governance through an organization called 80,000 Hours, which actually researches the most impactful career paths that are tackling the most pressing challenges in the world. And for several years, AI governance and AI security have kind of topped their list. And in sort of a quixotic fashion, I decided that despite my lack of, a more formalized technical background, I wanted to just chase AI governance and see how far I could go. So I began studying cybersecurity. I completed an IT and security boot camp, spent a lot of time volunteering with a community SOC here in Colorado, which, by the way, is open to anyone who's looking to gain experience in cybersecurity. So if you're based in Colorado and are interested, please reach out to me. And attending as many conferences and security events as possible. And I think through really focusing on community building and diving into organizations like ISACA, ISSA, and the OWASP Gen AI Security Project, really focusing on upskilling and countless late nights studying, and the many, many generous mentors and members of the AI community who offered their time and their insights, I was eventually able to find my way into AI governance. So as Kyle mentioned, today I work at the intersection of cybersecurity, GRC, and AI risk, helping organizations to build responsible and secure AI programs. So yeah, key takeaway, right? You don't need to start in AI to end up in AI governance, right? Follow your interests, follow your passions, and you'll get there. So anyway, that's my little intro.
Thank you, Sabrina. And one thing that really drew me to you was your background, right? I think one of the first words you used was non-traditional pathway to AI governance. And I think that's really inspiring because a lot of people are interested in getting into AI and AI governance, but they often are subscribing to this myth that I didn't get a degree in computer science or I don't know a programming language. And I think, to be fair, no one starts with that, right? Everyone has to start somewhere. Maybe it's as an undergraduate, maybe it's through a certificate or a graduate program, but there are ways into it if you're willing to put in the work. And so that's great. I love to hear it. Thank you so much. And Yana, next we'll go to you. Again, if you could just tell us a little bit about your pathway to AI governance.
Yes, thank you. So my pathway started right after GDPR was born, and I was working at Goldman Sachs. My background is in finance. That's where I was introduced to personal data, handling personal data in manual fashion as well as in digital. And that's where I was introduced to identity theft. And that's what caught my attention. I started researching that. I started looking at that. I had found that identity theft at that point was number one crime for the past 20 years in the US. And that's how many people are affected, on annual basis. And I thought that was fascinating. And I started thinking, what can be done to safeguard that data? And at that point, I was at Goldman Sachs, and I was really just trying. One of our teams that I worked with was having technical difficulties, and I was trying just to, volunteer and do my best to help them and coordinate with the IT department. And so that's how my IT project management had started. So right after I decided that I wanted to focus and working in data, but I didn't know how to code, right? And I was talking to a friend of mine who was my mentor at that time, and he said, "Look, you don't need to know how to code. There are so many people who know how to code and they have other responsibilities. You can go into it without having being able to code. And that was eye-opening because just the idea of being able to code was intimidating to me, you know? And so I started trying to learn everything that I could that was online, you know, about privacy, about security, about different aspects of it, because I wasn't sure where I was going to go with it, you know, what it could lead to. And so I started attending all possible hackathons where people coded and I didn't code. And I was just showing up and saying like, hey, like I'm on your team and I will help in any other way. And so my focus was kind of strategy, how we can build this app with protect. I was showing up at FBI mixers and you know, hanging out with Navy SEALs who were hiring at that time, and trying to. So I decided I will get into DEF CON, and people who are in security, who are hackers, they know very well that you know, that community. And so I became a without knowing how to code and without being a hacker, I became a full-time member of DEF CON. And every year, DEF CON takes place in Vegas, you know, where I participate in Data Duplication Village and also in on Privacy Village. I serve there. And so that was my breaking in and trying to learn everything and read everything without having to complete like any formal, you know, degree. I did, you know, I took on few projects in consulting and also, you know, contract work. I landed a role at Agricultural Bank of Texas, where I was working on data flows, you know, and everything related to personal data and how that data is being secured and you know what controls are being put in place to make sure that data is secure, since that bank is responsible for 52% of all agricultural loans in North America. So that was and I was reporting into legal. Then I landed a role at Mattel. We all know Barbies, you know, Uno and Hot Wheels. So I was data analyst there for a while, and then I landed another role at Entity. I was focusing on privacy, and then I grew into AI because AI was emerging and somebody had to work on it, and it was me. So that's my short introduction. And now I work at HCLTech. It's an international organization with 220,000 employees across the world. And that's where we're building out responsible AI program from ground up and working on making sure that AI is secure and all third-party vendor applications that we're onboarding are, you know, do have safeguards in place, and also everything that we're building out for our own customers is safe and secure as well.
That's terrific. And before we get to the next question, I want to point out a couple trends for. So the first one is all three of you have demonstrated an insatiable appetite for learning, right, about this topic, reading, volunteering, getting involved with local networks, and not letting your starting point dictate your final destination, right? All three of you had, you know, a very strong interest in this topic to begin with, and you didn't let your what's the right word, right? It was new, right? You didn't let that keep you back from speaking with experts, reaching out to mentors. Similar to that, all focused on upskilling, just trying to learn as much as you could through different opportunities. Sabrina talked about working with the local ISOC or the SOC chapter, right? That sounded like they took volunteers. Yana, you mentioned just now reaching out to hackers like DEF CON and so forth. I think that's great. And Soribel also pointed out the importance of networking. I think with LinkedIn nowadays, it's really easy to do cold outreach, right? You know, someone that you see posting content that you're getting value from, maybe just start with like a, hey, I really liked your comment, or, hey, where can I learn more about this? And use that as an opportunity to start a conversation. So that's fantastic. The next question that I have for you three, and Yana, we'll start with you. From your perspective, and this is so thinking again about from a job seeker's point of view, what are the top skills that you think are important for someone looking to get into AI governance? And I want you to think, specifically about someone that doesn't have an AI governance job, but maybe someone who's in a similar position to you, right? They like learning, they're trying to consume as much of this content. Maybe they're in a certificate program or doing self-study. What skills are needed? How can they frame themselves to land one of these jobs?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that number one, it's not a skill, but attitude is everything, right? Like you said, the appetite to learn. And when you're looking for a job, like any interviewer is looking for that, in my opinion. They're looking for you to for your thirst to learn. I also believe that any job doesn't matter where what your background or where you are now, you could always relate it to AI, right? Because now, on personal level, we all use and utilize AI here and there, right? We also use it in our professional lives. So if you could take that experience, that personal experience that you had with AI, right, and relate it to and translate it into the work that you could be potentially doing, it's always helpful. Because what a lot of people I feel like struggle with is like, how do I, if I'm trying to break into this industry, how do I make myself relevant on the resume, right? And I feel that's one of the ways of getting there is to make sure that your current experience with AI, personal or professional, is translated into your resume. And if once you start thinking about it, it's very easy. But it's just like you need that push. I definitely think not everybody needs to code. Okay, and that's a misconception about AI governance. There's so many roles in AI governance that you could potentially fulfill. I definitely think focusing on risk, is very, very important. If you know something about risk, if you stay abreast and read, even if you don't understand the legislation that's coming, that laws and regulations that popping up here and there, if you still make yourself open to reading that, even if it's very dry language, and having some sort of idea of what's going on in that space, that's very valid, because you can also translate it into your work. I also feel like people need to start thinking about AI and who are trying to break in, and have a couple examples that they could potentially use, on daily basis when they talk to interviewers as well. What impact AI had on you or member of your family. Have you noticed, like, even if it's positive or negative, right? If it's positive, it's great. You can outline that. If it's negative, what do you think needs to be done to curb that risk? And we all, mostly what we're doing here, we're trying to mitigate the risk, identify and mitigate the risk on daily basis. And less risk, we can never eliminate it, but we can mitigate it to some degree. I also think, definitely not because I'm here, but because I believe in what I'm saying, taking your course is very important, okay? Because I have purchased multiple courses and multiple workshops, and I had found out that your course is actually the only one that's worth every penny and more. That absolutely everybody, we have at HCL, we have about 20 people who work on our team, and I had suggestions to every single one of them to take your course, because I really believe that that helped me a lot. That definitely solidified the ideas in my head and the way that it could help. Definitely a lot of people look for AIGP certifications, and people who and interviewers, when I was hired because I had that cert. Not only because of that, but that was a big plus, right? Because certain employers think of it, okay, this is an advantage because I don't have to spend money now to train you, right? So I definitely can suggest to taking your course and trying to pursue AIGP because it does have value. Did I answer your questions?
That and more. I need to give you a commission, so we'll have to work something out there on the end.
Oh, please, no, no, you deserve it. I practice what I preach, so I strongly believe in what I'm saying.
But I appreciate that, Yana. Thank you very much. Just a quick note. I am monitoring the Q&A for questions, and I'll be integrating these into some of the follow-up. I do intend to devote the last 15 minutes to going through these questions. So please keep them coming. If we don't get to your question, within, before our time is up, I'll go through, I'll pull them out, and I'll find some way to answer these questions and get back to everyone. So even if we don't get to it live, I'm going to go through all of it and make answers available to everyone. So we will get to those questions in just a minute. So Soribel, similar, the same question to you. And I want to actually put the spotlight, Soribel, on you for just a second. You've had two really good posts on LinkedIn recently that spoke to what's the right word? The job landscape, right? The hiring landscape for AI governance right now. And I want to point out specifically a question that we've already seen in chat. So this comes from Zachary. Zachary says that a lot of the job descriptions that he's looking at right now, these jobs are requiring 8 to 10 years of experience. It looks like specifically legal roles. And Soribel, I don't want to steal your thunder. It sounds like a lot of these companies are looking for a unicorn. And I think that's exactly the word that you used. So this is sort of a double question. First, what are the skills that are important? And then also, what are you seeing employers looking for right now, and how might folks frame themselves to be successful for those applications?
How much time do I have?
Let's say like 5 minutes, because I want to give Sabrina time too. Also, I know, just to let everyone heads up, Soribel does have to leave a little early, so yeah, go ahead and say what you got to say.
Okay, this gets me really fired up. I see a lot of not just unicorn seeking by companies, especially law firms are especially guilty of this. But I see a lot of unrealistic job descriptions that are silly and actually, I think, comical. So, for example, to Zach, he says they're looking for 8 to 10 years of experience in-house. They're probably looking for, 10 years of AI governance. That's completely ridiculous. That didn't come into into our language until like 2 years ago. It evolved from AI policy to responsible AI to AI ethics to many other things, right? But asking so many years of experience from someone, and also asking on top of that for technical skills, that's completely outrageous and ridiculous. You can't have a lawyer who's also a software engineer, who's also a data analyst, who also has policy experience. That is unrealistic. And also, if you do require all of those things, you need to pay that person. You need to pay that person. And if that unicorn does exist, they're probably working for OpenAI and Anthropic, making quite a bit of money. So when you see those things, you can do a few things, right? You can just run away, or you can look at what they really need. So, for example, the law firms, right? What do they actually need? Do they need all of those things? They probably don't. They probably don't. So zero in on the business, right? So let's say health. They're probably looking for someone with experience in a clinical setting who knows a little bit of the privacy laws like HIPAA, all those sensitive health loss, right? And look at what you have to offer. Were you in cybersecurity before? Were you in privacy before? How can you connect the dots in there? So I would say ignore those unrealistic job descriptions. In terms of skills, I would say, and these are completely, unrelated to what you will see, but I've observed this as well. I think the biggest skills that you can focus on are project management, implementation skills, organizational skills, and the skills that I will combine them. There's people skills and change management, because AI adoption is more about change management than anything else. And the way that companies are approaching this is believing that, one, there's a unicorn out there who will come in and transform the business and just sprinkle a little bit of AI magic on every broken process and turn it into a money-making machine. And that's not how it works, right? That's not how, that's why you see that 95% of AI projects have failed. So I think project management, implementation skills, and change management, people skills. I mean, if you do have technical skills, then I think you have a leg up. Not because your technical skills are more valuable, but because it can get you in the door faster. So if you do have Python and you have cloud skills, that is, use that to your advantage, but also show those other skills that I've mentioned, and show that you care about policy, that you care about how AI is used and implemented. And if you have domain expertise, then absolutely use that to your advantage.
Excellent. Thank you, Soribel. One thing before it leaves my mind, a number of folks are also asking about volunteer opportunities. IAPP has knowledge nets all across the world. If you're not yet involved with IAPP, you should take a look at it. And while the organization has traditionally been very privacy focused, they're rebranding around this time last year into being, it used to be, right, that International Association of Privacy Professionals. Now it's just IAPP. They've moved from privacy to now digital responsibility, which is privacy, AI, and it looks like they're building out this cyber component. Those local knowledge nets are opportunities to get involved with like-minded people, for networking, and also for volunteer opportunities as well. So more on that soon, but I just wanted to throw that out as a volunteer option that folks can keep on their radar. Great. Sabrina, over to you. Skills that folks are looking for, that employers are looking for in the AI governance space.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. I think what Yana and Soribel highlighted are extremely important, and they covered a lot of ground in their answers. And, I'm going to kind of put on my social services vocational specialist hat here, right? And zoom out a bit. And we've touched on this a few times. Beyond the technical, beyond the subject matter, what's most important is someone's transferable skills, right? Someone's ability to assess whatever information is coming their way, to read between the lines, and to piece together the perspectives and the nuances that they're presented with. And I think that often gets lost in these conversations, but especially when it comes to the governance side of AI governance, that is key. And really what I have noticed and sort of the rapid way that I got into this field was, one, you can't be afraid to fall hard and fall fast, right? Like, this is a very nascent field. You're going to get things wrong. You're literally building the plane while you're flying it. It's a lot of experimentation. It's a lot of plugging and playing and seeing what works. And so you have to have a really deep sense of curiosity and resilience within you, to be able to try something, and if it doesn't stick to the wall, say, okay, that didn't work, let's go on to the next iteration, right? A willingness to ask questions, even if they seem so simple, right? There is, I truly believe there is no such thing as a stupid question, right? Like if someone doesn't know the answer, then it's a valid question to be asking. And it doesn't matter the context. If you are trying to gather information and trying to piece together what is coming to you, any question is valid and it should be asked. And so it really comes down to these basic tenets, right? How do you communicate? How do you aggregate the lots of streams of data coming your way, both in a literal sense and in a figurative sense? And I really can't emphasize the community piece enough, right? Like what is it that separates us from AI, right? It's our humanity. It's our ability to communicate with one another, our ability to see beyond sort of the black and white, and really lean into the nuances that we're presented with. And this kind of bleeds into a bit sort of the day-to-day of what AI governance looks like, but a lot of it involves the ability to interact with and gather information from various stakeholders, be it from the C-suite down to the IT teams, right? Your ability to, for lack of a better phrase, like code switch and read the signals and read the signs. And all of these are skills that are not necessarily unique to AI governance, but they will absolutely support you and strengthen you in your path. So I guess if I were to to narrow them down, right? I call them the 3 C's, right? It's curiosity, it's communication, and it's community. And you know what? Let's say four C's. The fourth one is courage, right? Because, like I said, it's so nascent. We're building the plane while we're flying it, and any person, especially the most experienced, they will tell you there is no expert in this field, right? We're all learning alongside one another. Perhaps the level of progress that we've reached is different from one another, but because it's so nascent, there's so much opportunity to learn. And so, like I said, you just can't be afraid to reach out to those that you look up to, that you think, oh, they might not have the time in the day to answer my questions. You'd be surprised how many people there are out there who will support you. So having that courage, having that ability to communicate, the ability to plug into community, and maintaining that stream of curiosity is it's just vital.
Thank you, Sabrina. That's great. And I think your 4 C's there is very powerful. Curiosity, communication, community, and then the fourth one, courage, I think is really important as well. Being prepared to, I think you said, fail fast and fail hard, to learn, right? I think that's great. So I have one last question for the 3 of you before we move to the Q&A. But Yana, I believe you said you had one thing to follow up there before we get to that question.
Yes, thank you. So, as per practical advice, right, I would recommend for those who are trying to get into AI governance and on organizational level, ISO 42001 for AIM system is one. Also, ISO 42005, which talks about risk assessments. That's number 2. Stay abreast of regulations. Look into all kinds of assessments, related to AI. That's very, very powerful. If you have those things, or even one of those things on your resume, that's going to open all the doors. Also, I chair Women in AI Governance in Arizona. There are chapters everywhere. It's free. It's for everybody, not only women, but men as well, who are trying to get into AI governance and learn. This is a great resource. Please feel free to reach out if you're in Arizona, and even if you're somewhere else, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll do my best to help.
That's great. Thank you, Yana. And I think 42005 is relatively new, isn't it?
It is new. It came out it was published in May of this year.
Okay,
It's all
great.
about risk assessments and about AI impact assessment.
Good. All right, wonderful. Okay, so last question, and Soribel, I know you have to leave in just a few minutes, so we'll start with you. What is one piece of advice that you would give to the audience today, someone looking to break into AI governance? What's one piece of advice for them?
Yes, I would say build, document, and share in public. Whatever your preferred social media outlet is, um, build, document, and share everything that you learn. So if you're taking a cert, don't keep all that knowledge to yourself. Share it. Um, and there's a lot of tools out there that are, they say they're free, they're not free. But if you can invest a little bit of money, those tools that do like AI agents, build AI agents, or even vibe coding, I don't love it, but um, start tinkering with those tools, because by doing that, I know your goal is AI governance. You don't want to build the actual things, but if you if you're the user, the AI governance pitfalls there. Oh, wait, that took all my data and didn't ask for my consent. Oh, where's my data? And then you actually try to jailbreak it or red team it. I think that's how you actually learn AI governance. So yeah, I'd say build, document, and share it with the public.
That's great. Yeah, and YouTube is full of fantastic resources. I mean, let's just say that you don't know anyone shoulder that you can look over for red teaming. Go to YouTube and fit in like red teaming in LLM. And I want to. So there's a book that I got. I haven't read yet. I will share it. It's called Not with a Bug, but with a Sticker. And the authors have a really great video on YouTube about red teaming and adversarial attacks. It's a little dated now, but I mean, there are a lot of resources on YouTube where you can watch people go through this process. So, Soribel, that's a great recommendation. Thank you. Okay, Yana, we'll go to you. What's one piece of advice that you would leave the community with?
Be curious and learn about assessments. That would be, risk, because all those assessments are all about risk, and always know that it doesn't matter where you are, even if you're in procurement, there is a space for you in AI governance. And actually, if you are in procurement, there is a huge opportunity to learn and to get into AI governance, because a huge piece that's usually is left out of the equation, but it's very, very important when it comes to contracts and, procurement of AI systems and components. Very, very, very important.
Wonderful. Thank you, Yana. And Sabrina, over to you. One piece of advice for everyone.
Yeah, and I know it's been addressed a couple times, but um, I would say if you have the time, if you have the bandwidth, the volunteering piece is essential. So Kyle had mentioned IAPP, and Yana had mentioned, women in AI governance. There's also ISSA and ISACA. Those are security organizations, which, security and governance hand in hand, right? Um, Also, the OWASP community, they are always seeking extra hands on deck, and it is such a beneficial way to learn and to network directly with incredible subject matter experts within the realm of AI security and AI governance. Um, in addition, women in cybersecurity chapters, all over. Um, and the Cloud Security Alliance. There's quite a few very far-reaching networking chapters out there, and chances are that they are present within your communities. So go and attend. They usually have at least monthly meetings. Show up, network, it can be awkward sometimes to network. Trust me, I understand, but just show up, stick your hand out and say, hi, my name is blah. This is what I do, or this is what I'm interested in. And you'd be amazed how many incredible people you can meet that way. Something that just came to mind when talking about red teaming LLMs, if you're not familiar with it already, Gandalf is a tool by Lakera where you can, hands-on try to prompt inject an LLM. And it's really fun. And it's one of those things where you do not have to have a technical background to be able to go in and try to manipulate these LLMs. I would say if you have time, go jump into that. And you can find really interesting and cool tools like that or resources like that just by following thought leaders like Soribel, like Yana on LinkedIn. There is such a wealth of knowledge just right at your fingertips. It just takes the time and the strategy and the discernment to decide where you will devote that energy and that attention. But if you invest in that, it will be beyond beneficial for you. Yeah, there's so many things, right? Like Yana mentioned, super glad she did NIST or ISO 42001, also the NIST AI RMF, big deal. Those should become your best friends. Like those, sleep with those under your pillow. And ISO, of course, the AI impact assessment framework, the 42005, that's a big deal. And ISO also has a million other AI related standards. So if you have the time, it's quite the rabbit hole. But what I would say is to really grasp these standards, try to put them next to each other and we call them like crosswalking, right? Look at how these controls relate to each other, because you'll see a lot of these things are saying very similar things, but just in a different form or in different verbiage. And it's in really trying to grasp how they relate to each other and take the time to just read the verbiage of the emerging AI laws coming our way. You'll start to really understand from a broader scope, one, what AI governance is, two, what's needed in it and where the gaps exist. And ask yourself, how can I help fill these gaps? Where are the resources that don't yet exist that I can contribute to? Because I firmly believe this, no matter your background, you have skills that are needed in this field. It's just learning how to apply them directly. And so if you ever need support or questions, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm very happy to be a resource for those who are seeking advice. It may take me time to reply to all the messages, but I will get to you eventually.
Kyle, I just have to drop soon, but I just wanted to say I am on LinkedIn. You can reach out. I do coaching for breaking into AI governance. So if you want, you can email me, message me and inquire about that. I also share a lot of tips and tricks on my profile. So, you can use that. And just to put another plug on YouTube, I also have a YouTube channel where I do a lot of educational videos on careers in AI and things like that. So please feel free to connect with me, and good luck. And I have to drop.
Thanks for joining us, Soribel. Really appreciate that.
Okay.
All right. So fantastic. We've got about 10 minutes left, and I'm just going to briefly go through and just pick out some things that we have not touched on, perhaps even indirectly. I'm seeing a lot of comments about writing things down and doing follow-up, for example, like the volunteer organizations. I've been taking notes, and I will package all of this content in various ways to get it out to the community. So this is being recorded. It'll go online. And I'll do some summaries to share with everyone as well. So don't worry about that. I see Zachary's question about whether or not AIGP currently deals with 42001 or 42005 in depth. The answer is no. Follow-up question is, will they in the future? I don't think so. For those that haven't yet done the AI governance professional exam, they've only updated it once. So our data set is very small. but I'm expecting the new body of knowledge to be released at the end of this month or beginning of November, and the next version of the exam to go live in early February. So IAPP's operating procedure is to release a new body of knowledge 3 months before that body of knowledge goes into effect. I imagine they will still have something on 42001 and 42005, but that exam is a mile wide and an inch deep. So you need to know a lot of different things, but you don't need to know them in a lot of depth. Probably the only exception is the EU AI Act, which in the current version of the exam, I mean, it's a lot of content. So there's a little bit there. Let's see. A lot of folks are just expressing interest in reaching out to you all on LinkedIn and connecting that way. What would you say? I'm seeing a question here about conference attendance, specifically the Privacy Security Risk Conference. IAPP also does the Global Privacy Summit in DC. They do a number of conferences overseas. Now they have this AI governance global that they're doing as well. Sabrina and Yana, we'll start with you. What value do you see in attending these types of conferences? I know you've done hackathons and DEF CON, so maybe you can just
Yeah,
speak to those that you have experience with.
absolutely. Privacy security risk. I've attended a few times. Great conference, great content. If you can if you can spend 3 days, because it's usually lasts 3 days, and attend as many workshops as you can, I think it's a really, really worth the money. And you can build
Sabrina,
out your own network. Sorry.
that's okay, thank you. Sabrina, you're active in ISACA. I imagine you do the local ISACA conferences.
Yeah, I would say with any conference, right? The benefit is going to be in how much you engage. So, and the big part of that is making sure you're networking, you're communicating, you're putting yourself out there, you're mastering your elevator pitch, really finding the unique side to your story that you can convey to others in that community. And then also really dialing in and plugging into whatever presentations that you attend and following up with the presenters. If you have questions, reaching out to them. Again, just that community building, that networking piece, I would say is most important.
Great. I'm going to speak from personal experience here, but this is something that I'm feeling in the questions. And Yana and Sabrina, maybe something that you two have felt at one point. But this is really important to say. Imposter syndrome is a real thing, okay? Going to these conferences, like your very first conference, sending an email to an expert on LinkedIn or a direct message, speaking with a presenter after their presentation, it's nerve-wracking, right? And you may be thinking to yourself, if you're looking to break into this field, right? Like, my background's in Chinese history. What the heck am I going to contribute to this conversation? You have a lot to contribute, right? Sabrina's point that transferable skills are really important. There's something about your personal and your professional experience that is going to make you great at this job. Lead with that, right? And maybe you're not contributing something to a conversation. Maybe you're just asking questions, right? People love to hear themselves talk. Like I'm no exception. And so asking someone to talk about their experience, how they got somewhere, asking them to maybe clarify an interesting point, that's how you can get conversation started. So know that I think, again, this is just my personal experience, but the first time I went to a privacy conference when I was, geez, in my late 30s, like I felt a bit like a phony. But I've been doing it for 5 years now, and I'm starting to feel a bit comfortable. So it's normal to feel that way. And I'll stop there if either of you want to contribute to that.
I will.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, yeah, definitely. I think important to say that nobody knows how to govern AI perfectly. No one knows. Okay, we're still all of us are figuring it out, right? And imposter syndrome is real. I think a lot of us feel it till now. And I have to say that once I know that it could be nerve-wracking, like you said, to go to the conference or send out email or connect on LinkedIn. I once sent email to Elon Musk. Needless to say that he never responded to me, but I did it, you know. So I would encourage you to send that email, to send that connect, and and see what happens. The worst thing that they could say is a no. That's it.
Yeah. So much of my journey into tech and into AI governance was just the bravery um, to introduce myself, to send out emails, to ask for a 15-minute info interview. And I am so grateful to those who took that time. And you'd be amazed how many are willing to do that, right? As I mentioned earlier, some of the greatest minds in this space will tell you there are no genuine experts because this field is so nascent. And so we're all learning to some degree. And the beautiful thing about AI governance is that need for diversity and thought and that need for diversity and background. Um, because there are things that can not be accounted for that, if we only have a certain lens in one area, we're missing in others. And that means that we're not governing the wider scope and not understanding the wider implications of the things that we enact, right? And so having more voices at the table that can have that more nuanced views, it's so important. And earlier this year I gave a keynote at a graduation for a program that I had, a boot camp that I had completed the very beginning of my start in tech. And what I really focused on there, and I stand by today, is that imposter syndrome, it can be such a beautiful gift because it keeps us on our toes, it keeps us humble, it keeps us engaged. It can be a really great friend to us if we learn how to harness it correctly. But it can also be a foe if we let it prevent us from taking the chances that could get us to grow, right? Um, we should never be afraid to step into unknown territory because that's where so much beauty and possibility lies. Um, and I think really taking on that more of, gosh, not to sound so trite, but it's true. It's this abundance mindset, this feeling that, I may not know everything, but there's so much for me to learn and so much for me to grow into. And that's the exciting piece, right? Like what a privilege to be able to learn every day. And the fact that AI and governance is evolving constantly means we get to learn new things all the time. It's exciting. I feel like a kid every day when I wake up and I'm like, what am I going to learn today? Sometimes it's sad stuff like what breach happened. But then it's also like, what are some new techniques and frameworks being introduced and how can I take that into account? I think of it like playing with little Legos or something. Like I get to take this set and if you can really come at it from that sense of enjoyment, it brings a sense of fulfillment and that community piece just kind of naturally wraps into it. Yeah, so the imposter syndrome can be a very dear friend if you allow it to be, if you harness it.
Sabrina, that was beautiful. I certainly don't have anything to add to that. Yana, do you have any closing comments for the group?
No, I would say just go for it. You can do it.
Wonderful. Excellent. All right. I just want to reassure everyone. I know we didn't get to all of the questions, but I've taken notes here and I'll find a way to get everything answered and consolidated in a way that's easily consumable by the group. So in closing, thank everyone in the audience for your time today. I appreciate your attention. It's a very valuable commodity these days. And thank you very much to Soribel, who had to leave us a little early, Sabrina and Yana. I felt a little bit like a phony sending you cold outreach on LinkedIn to do this. I'm so glad you did it. And, I hope we can get together and continue this conversation soon.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you so much, Kyle.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Have a fantastic afternoon. And you'll be hearing from at least me very shortly. So thanks very much.
Thanks
Bye,
all.
everyone.
Yeah.